Good evening, Tom. There were angry and emotional scenes down at the Israeli Knesset, the parliament, as a group of a dozen or so hostage family members got past security there and managed to burst into a meeting of the Knesset Finance Committee. So it wasn't the full parliament. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't there. But these protesters got through to speak to some of the members of the Knesset, or rather shout at them, brandishing placards, some with their relatives' photos on, some of them shouting, "You will not sit here while our children die." And they are demanding, once again, urgent action to bring their loved ones home. And some of them have been calling for a ceasefire for quite some time, a deal to be struck with Hamas to try and end the war, or at least get their relatives home. Others are saying that the government is simply not doing enough now. There's been 108 days of war already. We know that Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected Hamas's conditions for a ceasefire, saying that would amount to surrender. He did say that Israel was working on its own initiative to get the hostages home, but he didn't elaborate on what that would be. But this issue of the hostages' fate has been long divisive. It's getting all the more so. There have also been protests outside Netanyahu's residences here in Jerusalem and north of Tel Aviv in Caesarea. And there are big demonstrations every week with people saying now that this needs to be the #1 priority of the Israeli authorities.
Now, just tell us a bit more about what's been happening in the West Bank, because we talk a lot about the violence in Gaza, but the violence is not confined to Gaza. Scores of deaths in the West Bank these last 3 to 4 months. Just tell us what the latest is.
The situation is extremely tense in the occupied West Bank. I mean, it has been for quite some time, but it's been getting much worse since the October the 7th massacres. So you've had an increasing number of deaths. The UN has counted more than 350 Palestinians killed in the West Bank since October the 7th, either shot dead by extremist Israeli settlers there, or actually killed in Israeli army raids into neighborhoods where there are various Palestinian armed groups, some branches affiliated to Hamas, some others to Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Just a few days ago, there was a really intense and long range in the town of Tulkarem, that's in the north of the West Bank near Nablus, that went on for nearly 2 whole days. 8 people, Palestinians say, were killed in that raid. We went in there just after that raid ended, and we could see there that the divisions are growing ever deeper. It's this cycle of violence which seems to have no end in sight.